All right, so before we can really start to grasp and understand how to paint light, we need to understand form, okay? And light defines form. So basically, any sort of light striking a geometric object is going to interact with that in a predictable way that if we can understand and master, we'll be able to paint these sort of things out of our head, all right? And it follows a very, very set order of steps to define these forms, right? And it depends on what type of light we're in. If we're in a bright sunlight, those steps are going to be different than if it's an overcast light, okay? And in order to do that, to understand what those steps are, we need to know what the form is of whatever the light is hitting, okay? So in order to do that, we're going to learn how to look at something and be able to group it into planes so that we know what way the light is going to interact. Okay, so I have this image here of some rocks on a beach, and what we're going to do is take this image and separate part of it into planes so we can see what I'm talking about here, okay? So I'm going to start by lowering the opacity on it to about there. Let's make the background white. There we go. And then on a layer on top of it, we're going to be painting in the different planes, okay? So we're going to start with the darkest plane. And the darkest planes are the ones that are facing, well, let's number them first. Let's see which ones there are. So, turn this black. Okay, so we have, we'll start with the darkest. So the darkest planes are going to be the ones that are facing away from the light. They're facing over here towards this wall, okay? These ones are going to be the darkest, right? We're just going to do this section over here. So these ones, okay. And I'm just doing this really rough and really quick so we can see. Alright, so all of these, we're going to call this number 1, okay? And number 1 is going to be the darkest form, okay? The next one, oh, and we know what we missed a couple spots right here too. These are also going to all be in shadow. Okay. Perfect. So let's do 2 now. So 2, we're going to call 2 this part right here that is a little bit more turned towards the light source. So anything that is facing this direction will be our 2s. Okay, and you can see, even with just the lines, you can kind of start to see the form, right? We're breaking this down into really simple planes, which is what you need to do with any of your paintings that you're doing or drawings. Figure out where the basic planes are and what direction they face, because that way you can understand how to paint the light because you know where it's hitting it from, okay? And so we're going to call all of these 2s. So 2, 2. Okay. And then the last one is going to be the tops, right? That's hitting the most light. Okay, and those are the brightest. Okay. Alright, so that'll be good enough for this, and we'll label those 3. Okay, so let's go ahead now and start painting these. So we're going to start with the darkest and get my charcoal block brush back. And we're going to paint everything in that's a 1 with this dark gray. And by the time we're done, once we've isolated these planes, you'll be able to see how understanding which direction these face can help you paint light more accurately. Okay, so we have 1s over here. And let's go ahead and turn off these lines. We don't need these. I'm not sticking exactly perfect to the photo because once again I'm simplifying it. I'm breaking it down into just its basic planes. Nothing too complex, just really simple. I just want to be able to understand where the basic planes are so that when I paint it, I understand how I need to have the light interact with the forms. I'm not just guessing, okay? we paint these in, and once we finish this one, we'll move on to the next color, or next value. All right, and this is the last section. Now I want you to note here that I'm not focusing on the values or how the lights are hitting it. I'm focusing on the plane. So even if in some parts of the image it's dark and other parts that plane is light, it doesn't matter. I'm just focusing on the plane, okay? Because still those sets of rules are going to apply regardless of how it's lit in the image, right? We'll need to understand which direction that plane is facing, okay? So just to point out really quick what I mean, up here, this plane is the same direction as this plane, but this plane is a lot darker than that one, right? This bottom one is a lot darker than this one. But we're not worrying about value, we're just worrying about which direction the plane is facing, okay? So we have that. Let's move on to the next plane, which we're going to do a little bit lighter gray. And that gray is going to be all of the planes that are facing this way, that are facing more towards the camera, okay? Alright, perfect. And then we have the last one, which is going to be our lightest plane, and this is the top one. Okay, this one's the one that's mostly facing the light. Okay, now your assignment for this, I want you to do the same thing. You can either use this image, I'll put it in the resources, or you can find your own image. If you're finding your own image, then you need to make sure that you're finding one that has at least, you'll be able to do at least 3 different planes. And not more than 4. So 3 to 4 different planes. Anything more than that, you're getting too complicated and you're not simplifying it enough. So, and what you're going to do is just break it down into its basic planes, right? What direction is everything in this image facing? Okay. So we're almost finished with this one here. Okay. I'm going to imagine that there's some down here because these ledges of the rock, okay? And then up at the very top is the last little bit. Cool, so now if we turn this off, and we will go ahead and darken this, you can see that just by dividing up the planes, you can still get a really rough general idea of the shape and the form of this thing, right? And so understanding those planes are what is going to help you start blocking in your rough values and your rough lighting so that you're not just guessing, right? Because when we guess, when we don't really think about what we're painting, that's when things look bad, that's when things look amateurish, okay? And we're all victims of it, okay? I know I have done it, I know you have done it at some point where you're not really sure, so you just guess instead of really just taking the time to think it out in your head, okay? So whether you're drawing from your head or you're looking at a reference photo, take the time to think about the planes and what direction they're facing, okay? So do this assignment, post it in the Facebook group, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Are you looking for even more content on how to become a digital artist? Then check out some of my online courses. There are over 50 hours of in-depth content, and they cover a range of topics from creature design to light and color, and from character design to digital painting. You'll gain access to a private Facebook group for students only, where you can stay motivated and get feedback on your work. Plus, I provide fully responsive support throughout all of my courses, and I offer a 100% no questions asked money back guarantee. So normally my courses range from $100 to $200, but subscribers can take any of them, anytime, any course, for only $12, and once you buy it, you own it for life. There's no time limits, no subscriptions, anything like that. So if you want to show your support and become a better artist in the process, then use the link in the description, or just use promo code YT discount on any of my courses. So appreciate you guys. Have a good one.